Alright guys, it's time to talk about the brand new hot MMO on the market. That's Amazon's New World. I've been playing it the last couple weeks and I've got some thoughts. Let's chat. Like most MMO RPG fans, I was excited to try out this new one from Amazon. New World looked great, and given that I'm a longtime fan of MMOs and survival games, this seemed to have a lot of promise. But in its current state, I don't think it's going to be stealing much of my attention away from ESO and Minecraft. I'd like to share some of those first impressions and thoughts on the game, along with my take on the housing system, which, of course, is the most important part of any MMO. For anyone new to this channel, I'm Cal, and today's video is going to be a bit of a departure from my usual content. I'd like to talk about what New World is getting right, what it's getting wrong, and what I think they could do to improve. First of all, let me point out a few things I absolutely love about New World. I think the setting is great. I dig the aesthetic, the visuals, the world itself can feel very interactive. I actually love the crafting and gathering systems, even though they're a little grindy. I still wish other MMOs would adopt something like them. Even ESO feels a little bit hollow, or at least the gathering and crafting systems feel a little bit hollow after playing New World. I also really like some of the things that they've done with player housing for an MMO. And the combat, although a little clunky at times, has the potential to be a real selling point, as well as the housing. It's all super engaging and it can feel very rewarding. Before we dive into the housing though, I'd like to talk a little bit about the character customization, as it's the first thing you're going to encounter when you boot up the game, and I was a little disappointed. Now before we just dive into it, I did want to throw out a quick disclaimer. I'm a pretty casual MMO player, so this perspective is just that. I know there's a lot of other content creators out there sharing their opinions on the in-game of New World right now, but I'm just here to talk about the things that might be important to someone who wants to create a character, explore a little bit, and decorate a house. If you want to hear about wars and invasions, game-breaking bugs, and the meta, I'd recommend Upper Echelon's video, which I'll have linked in the comments below. To be completely honest, I actually think the character customization in New World is borderline unacceptable for a modern RPG released in 2021. Just look at how few options there are here. There's no sliders, only 2 body types, no height adjustment. Even Dark Age of Camelot, a game that came out over a decade ago, had height options for its character customization. I get how this isn't your traditional fantasy RPG with elves, dwarves, and so on, but without those options to rely on, you've really got to give your player base a gluttony of customization options for your humans. I know this might not bear as much weight with many players out there, but for me personally, character customization is really number one. If I can't create a character that looks cool and feels unique, I'm probably not going to be sticking around to play your MMO. At the very least, I think we need to see a few more body types. Just having 2 is just not enough. Along with that, I'd love to see height selection. Again, most MMOs offer this, and I think it just really helps break up the character models when you're in town and helps you stand out, or at least feel like you stand out against everybody else. Again, these options don't need to be sliders, but those 2 small additions would actually go a long way to helping character customization feel much more personal and unique. Beyond that, I see no reason for Amazon to not be pushing out dozens of new hairstyles, face paint, makeup, beard options, hair and beard colors, and more. Why are there so few to start? Why are there no premium options in the cash shop already? I assume they are on the way because why not? But this also means that we need a barbershop in-game that allows us to alter our character customization after creation. I really am surprised that there isn't that option there today, especially given how bad some of the clipping is with the longer hairstyles, especially when some of the customization options look a little bit different in-game than they do when you make your character. I don't care if that barbershop costs in-game coin, cash shop points, Azoth, or some new currency. It's got to be there, and it needs to be there sooner rather than later. Alright guys, let's dive into the meat of it for any other housing enthusiasts out there. I actually pre-ordered the day I found out that there was going to be player homes in-game. For me, it's difficult to stick with an MMO that doesn't have some form of in-game housing. I think of it as further customization for my character, and if you've visited my channel before, you know I am constantly designing and updating my ESO homes. Now, there are a couple things I really love about New World housing. First of all, it exists in the real world, not just a private instance. And you can see your furnishings from outside the house. This makes the world feel more lived in, and it's a great incentive to actually decorate your home. Secondly, I also really like the idea of a house ranking system. The Old Republic actually had one of these as well, and I thought it was nice there too. This allows the best appointed homes, or should allow the best appointed homes, to be put on a leaderboard, and the absolute best is the default house that's rendered for other players to see in the world. Unfortunately, New World's evaluation system is somewhat lacking. Rarely will you actually see the best design, but instead you'll see the one owned by the player who's grinded the most rep recently. What? That's right. Right now, the single biggest factor in your house rating appears to be how much territory rep you've gained in the territory your house is in within the past 48 hours. That is an unfortunate design choice, as it incentivizes needless grinding when they could be incentivizing home design. Third, I do love how much functionality a house gives you in New World. Simply put, if you are playing this game, you will want to buy multiple houses. It provides a way for you to expand your bank space, and it is the only way to place housing trophies, which grant your character passive buffs worldwide. If you care about your character's performance at all, crafting, combat, whatever, eventually you'll need to own and outfit 3 homes. But that leads me to my final note on housing, as no discussion around New World housing would be complete without diving into the cost of homes. The purchase cost for housing seems somewhat reasonable. You'll need to achieve a certain territory rep to unlock the ability to purchase each tier of housing, and the initial costs seem fair. But after that first week of ownership, you are going to be paying some absolutely insane rent, and that rent is due every 5 days. Fortunately, you don't lose your house if you don't pay rent. But if you want any of the perks of owning a home, you're going to have to be paying that rent every 5 days. My character is only in the mid-30s, but even the lowest rent on the smallest house in a town with the most generous governorship feels too high by a factor of something like 5, maybe more. I'll be paying hundreds of gold every 5 days just to maintain my house trophy buffs and expanded bank inventory. Unless you are playing literally every day and really putting those hours in to acquire coin, you're not going to be able to afford house rent all the time, which is a real downer for casual players. Beyond the cost, I'm also finding the customizability to be a bit lacking. The housing editor itself has some pretty severe limitations, as you can't flip furnishings upside down, and some placements are just blocked outright. Other placements are allowed, but they won't count towards the point total for your house. This is only going to serve to stifle creativity and is a real letdown after spending so much time in ESO and even Final Fantasy XIV, where the housing editor allows much more flexibility. So the housing has potential and needs some tweaking, but I think that leads me to my next thing that I'd like to talk about: some thoughts on the combat and economy in New World. So at the top of the video, I mentioned that I actually do enjoy the combat in New World. It has a lot of potential. I wouldn't mind a little more variety in skill lines beyond just weapon skills, but the combat can still be a lot of fun. My biggest problem is just that it doesn't feel as responsive as it needs to. Weapon swaps feel clunky, dodges don't go off, skills don't fire when they should, and there isn't enough feedback given to the player as to why something isn't firing or connecting the way you feel it should. Despite having absolutely excellent ping, it feels like ranged abilities rarely hit the way they should, and 99% of the mobs in the world respond way too fast. You will be fighting your way in and out of every cave, house, shed, and it feels kind of draining. That being said, there's nothing better than taking on a big, bad boss that's probably a couple levels too high for you and winning the fight with well-timed ability use, parries, and dodges. The fact that you actually need to think strategically in most fights in New World has actually improved my gameplay back in ESO and other games where you can often just absorb most damage and pop another healing ability. As for the economy, well, it's tough to say right now how the dust will settle, but I hate how many gold sinks there are in this game. It's not just housing and maybe repairs like it would be in a traditional MMO, but crafting, even repairing your own gear, buying faction gear with faction tokens, buying and selling things on the auction house, everything I can think of other than literally fighting an enemy or gathering a resource node will take coin out of your pocket. And as a result, it seems like the market is suffering some serious deflation where most items will become essentially worthless within weeks, if not days. The best advice I could give you if you're planning to play is to hoard your coin, because right now almost everything else is easy to come by or will be easy to come by, and it feels like there's limited sources of coin. As an example, just yesterday I needed to repair my bow, and I noticed that in addition to repair parts, I hadn't realized this before, it was actually going to cost me 25 coins as well. Well, I checked the market board, and guess what? There were multiple bows available on the market for less than 25 gold. So I just threw away my bow and bought a new one. That'd be fine, except why have a repair system at all? Maybe it will make more sense at level 60 when I have in-game gear, and obviously I don't want to throw that away, but will I even have enough gold to keep repairing my gear and pay rent and handle all these other gold sinks in the game? In summary, New World is a fresh MMO with a lot of potential, and I've really enjoyed playing it for the past couple weeks. The gathering and crafting is excellent, the combat is fun and rewarding, and I love how the housing system is a core element of the game. I'm just not sure there's enough polish and balance there just yet to commit. I almost forgot to mention, no group finder. I understand that this is a positive for many players out there who don't want a group finder, but I personally hate it. The group finder is one of the things that really improved my quality of life playing MMOs. I hate having to hunt people down to run a dungeon, but I think it's okay. This one can be for you guys, and I can go back to ESO where they have a group finder. For this one, I'd love to hear back from you guys. If you're playing New World right now and you're having a great time, let me know in the comments down below. If the economy really works out at level 60 and the gold sinks aren't a problem, I'd also love to hear that. Now, like I mentioned earlier in the video, my character's only in the mid-30s and I haven't experienced everything that New World has to offer. So if there is a better way to make gold later on, that's great. If these gold sinks are no problem at 60, that's awesome. Right now, it feels a little overwhelming and a little unachievable, but I'm sure that they will figure it out. There's plenty of incentive for them, and I think they've got a great game to start. So if you're having fun, keep having fun. If you haven't tried New World, give it a try. I think it's probably the right game for some people out there. It's just not the right game for me yet. If you're still watching this video, thank you. I appreciate you guys checking out my channel and listening to me rant. I do plan to keep playing New World for a little bit off and on, and I have enjoyed my time in New World so far, but I can't wait to get back to ESO and start my next housing project. Thanks again for checking out this video. I hope I'll see you guys around for the next one, but that's gonna do it for me today. Bye for now. Thank you.